Mitt Romney. There's one thing I saw about this guy that I actually liked. I was impressed
His
with.
hair?
No, it's not his hair.
His great suits.
No.
His beautiful face.
No.
What?
I actually don't think he's that pretty, but I do see how people think, oh, this guy looks presidential, but I don't really, I mean, fine, whatever. But the thing I liked about him is that he was talking about, it was an immigration bill they were working on a few months ago. And Mitt Romney said that he opposed the bill because he sat down and read the thing, and he said, like, on page whatever in section 25-B, there was a clause in there which more or less granted amnesty, and it made it so that I can't remember the exact quote, but it made it so that a secretary of some department had the option to take all the temporary visas and make them permanent just by saying they were permanent, with no extra laws having to pass or anything like that. And so Romney looked at that and he read through the thing and said, "This is essentially amnesty, so I can't support it." And
now, I like to voice now, just really quickly. I like what Barack said about him this week on David Letterman. I think he should be the Secretary of Looking Good. I agree with that.
Okay, look.
Just on a side note.
Okay, now before earlier you were talking about swift boating, how the Republicans are swift boating people. Romney's going to be swift boated for looking good.
Hey,
they're going to put him in a little box that says, "You look good," and that's all you are.
You know what? If you were to be swift boated, if that was the worst thing they could say about you, is that you look good. You know, that's not a bad thing. And you know what, they really can't.
But also
if they say he was good looking but he's stupid, that would be bad. But you know, they can't do that. Mm-hmm. He's way too successful for anybody to call him stupid. And they can't say he's successful because of his father's governorship or because of any of that. He made his money on his own. My
point I was making before was that I think the guy, he's one of the few guys up there that I think will actually sit down and read through those boring bills and understand what it says. I think a lot of the other people have people read the stuff for them.
I think there's a legitimate issue with what the Republicans are saying about him, that he's a flip-flopper. Now, that you can say that all Massachusetts politicians are flip-floppers, and that's probably true except for Kennedy, because he's pretty consistently extremely liberal. But the problem with Mitt Romney for me is that I think he would have got a lot more support if he had ran on being a fiscal conservative. I think he'd be doing very well right now if he had not changed his positions on what he did in Massachusetts. But now, he changed his position on abortion. He changed his position on gun control and on gay and lesbian right issues. And he did it purely to get elected. And you know what? The Republicans have every right to jump down his throat for doing it. And if he becomes a Republican nominee, the Democrats do too. But I bet you he would have had a lot more support, and he would have a better chance of winning a national election had he not flip-flopped on those issues.
Yeah, but if he hasn't, I'm going to say, if he hadn't changed his mind on those issues.
Conveniently, a year before you started running for president, yeah, I mean, that's pretty changing mind.
If he hadn't changed his mind on those issues, do you think he would have been able to be elected as governor?
Yeah. Well, if he had changed his mind, he would not have been. If he came out as a conservative that he's running right now, he'd not have been governor of Massachusetts.
Exactly. And if he hadn't been governor of Massachusetts, do you think anyway he would have had the momentum to make the run at the presidential campaign that he's doing?
You see, the issue
yeah, but that is because
he could have run. He had a chance. He had 3 states he wanted to run for governor in. Okay, going back to it, they talked about it in the news. He had Michigan, he had Massachusetts, and he had Utah. He could have chosen to be conservative and run in Utah, and he would have won.
Yeah, but a Utah governor is not going to go national.
But
a Utah governor is not going to be elected president.
Is he was looking so far forward that he wanted to run for president before he ran for governor?
Probably.
So basically, when they accuse him of being purely political and just trying to run to win, then you're saying that's what he does. He doesn't care about really what he stands for. He's doing what he does to win. I
think he looks to see what he needs to do to win, but I also think he has I think overall he seems like a decent guy. I mean, yeah, he flip flops and
whether he's a decent person,
I flip flop too.
Well, there's nothing wrong with changing a position over time as you get more details and issues.
I change my mind on the position 3 times in a day, and I'm a regular guy.
But that's fine. I mean, you can change if you like a candy bar and that
I'm not
the
talking
first
like
bite you
candy
like.
bars,
I'm
dude.
using that as a very simplistic. You can not the first bite, then the second bite it wasn't great, and then the third, well, yeah, it's better now. Okay, that's fine. You can flip flop on that. But when you take something, say like gun control, and you're very for 12 to 16 years, you're very very specific on it, and then suddenly you decide to run for president, and suddenly you've had an epiphany, and your mind has changed. That's where the issue is. There are a lot of politicians, like Jimmy Carter, for example, who was a pro-life Democrat in the 60s and 70s, and then as time went on, not before running for president, but as time went on, he changed his position because he saw a lot more of the issue. That is different than suddenly deciding to run for president and changing so you can win your party's nomination. And like I said, he had those three choices to run. He chose Massachusetts. And you said, well, he wouldn't have had a shot of running for president if he was from Utah. Okay, that's fine. But by saying that, essentially you're saying that he, back when he had that chance, decided that he was running for president then. And so essentially everything he's done is political. So where does he stand on issues? And that's a concern. There's no problem changing a position as you've looked at it over time. But he's purely playing politics. If he had core values, and he's going to stick to those core values, then and if he was conservative, then he should have stayed in Utah. But if he wanted to run for president, which is what you insinuated, which many insinuate back then he should have. You're right. He should go to Massachusetts, which he did. But then he changed his position.
Well, he had to get elected.
Where he had to get elected. So that's great and dandy and all that.
No.
That's my point. It's pure politics.
Even when he was in Massachusetts, did he do good things or bad things or combination?
He worked very well until he decided to run for president, working in a bipartisan manner with the Democrat state legislature in Massachusetts. He did a lot, and he went along with the people in the state. And people accuse him of not being a complete conservative because he didn't raise taxes, but he got rid of loopholes. And
yeah, we talked about that
We've
before.
We've talked about this before, but the reality is he did a really good job of doing the right thing. As somebody who's watched politics closely, I really liked what he did until he changed his position. Until now, he looks very, very political,
very Republican.
And it's not Republican. It's that he looks like he's doing everything just to run for the presidency.
I don't disagree on that. I think you're right. He is.
And that's wrong. I think that if you have core beliefs, you stick to them and you keep them. You don't just have them to win. Otherwise, where does he stand on issues? How do I know tomorrow if he becomes a Republican nominee that he's not going to change back? I can't trust him on that. And then I think it's a legitimate concern.
Yeah. Well, okay? If you like him and you think he's a person and you think he's a good decision maker, because I do think that he looks at everything before he makes a choice. I don't think he is someone who just shoots from the hip.
I think he's very calculated. I think he's a business person, and I think that's a really good thing. I think he can be effective as a business person, and that's why I think business people make good decisions when they're in leadership in the country. But the problem is that's why I don't think he'd make a great president, because he made decisions that worked best to benefit him in the business. Well, now he's trying to make decisions that will benefit him to get elected, but that doesn't mean that he has those stances. I'd like to know where he stands without a flip-flop, without a convenient change. In business, yes, you want to make convenient changes so that you can make more money. But as a government, you want to have somebody with principles that can not change those, but can make agreements with the other aisle of the political spectrum to come up with good policies. But the problem is that he went from doing that in Massachusetts to becoming a partisan hack just to get elected president.
Do you think it's going to be him or McCain?
I think it depends on who wins on Tuesday in Florida.
We'll be watching.
That's what I think.